gentlemen, for those of you who sold honey at the fair, Hamilton County Fair, whom I have not paid, please come see me this evening. We expect to have checks. They didn't come. I paid out some people in cash. Cash we have available. I will make arrangements to get the money to the rest of you promptly. So if I owe you money, please let me know. If I owe you money for honey, if I owe you money otherwise.
If you did happen to get the treat of Matt's tulip poplar honey, drizzle it on a funnel cake. That's all I'm saying, because it was like heaven. So it was scrumptious, and I bought some for my husband. All right, so we did the Hamilton County Fair. Do we have Amber? Are we going to have her do that report now, or are you going to just go on? Okay, Amber's going to tell us about that in just a minute. We need a fundraising coordinator. Okay, we have money that comes in from people like Paul's company did a matching gift in response to his volunteering for the club of $1,000. This company sent $1,000 into our account because he volunteered time with us. There are other companies that will do that. There are grants that we need to apply for through Beekeepers of Indiana and through other setups. I don't have time to do all that. Karen doesn't have time to do all that. Barry, Paul, and we need somebody else to coordinate that because there's money out there that we can bring in and utilize for education, which is something we really like to do. There's plenty of outreach that we haven't even gotten to veterans, to incarcerated peoples, just different things that we'd really like to do. So if you have any expertise in fundraising or just a willingness to be an administrator in that situation, we would love to have you. Beekeepers of Indiana is. We personally are not, but that's how Paul's company ran it into Beekeepers of Indiana. They hold it as a line item for us, and we turn in receipts, and they funnel that money to us. So same with our 4-H project. 4-H is a 501c3, so it can legally and correctly be done without this local club going through all those checkers because it's a super expensive process. Exactly.
And a lot of companies will do matching, so that's another way to make some extra money. And
we've had actually several of your friends that aren't even beekeepers, don't even do bees, are donating monies on our behalf for us to buy honey straws to give out at February's Ag Days next year. We see between 23 and 2,800 second graders at our Hamilton County Ag Days. There are 4 or 5 of us that do that every year for 3 days. It is such a treat. This year, we did not have honey straws to send home to the kids because they're not cheap, and we just couldn't spend that money. Paul put the word out to friends that he works with that this is something that we would love to be sending home with these kids, but to buy 2,500 is not insignificant. And boom, 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 he had multiple people send that money in and make that happen for us. So we would love to have fundraising.
Let me just say, in its simplest form, that person would coordinate selling tickets tonight for items on the auction table.
Oh, okay.
So it's not really a huge job, but it's something that would be nice to have somebody that can coordinate getting small items on the table. It's a way that the club can raise some money for doing activities or buying educational materials. So this is not a huge commitment. It's just something that would be nice to have somebody dedicated to that could get items that could be put on the table the nights that we have meetings. So it's really a simple job.
And then also tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, we need to turn in an application to Beekeepers of Indiana for that educational grant by May 1. I have it here. Will you do it? And we'll go, oh, yeah, of course. Just someone to help us get through those processes. Barry McNulty, our official mentor coordinator. If you need a mentor, if you want to be a mentor, talk to Barry.
We kind of been pretty unofficial about the mentoring. People have said, oh, I need somebody, and people have just kind of said, well, why don't you talk to that person? I think we need to be a little bit more formal about who actually needs a mentor and make sure we make that connection. So if you're needing a mentor, if you're new, or even if you're not new, you want to work with an experienced beekeeper, let me know, and then I'm going to start asking other people that are experienced beekeepers if we can match some people up. It seems like our mentoring has ended up being, 2 or 3 of us that are in the core group, and there's a lot of experience out here that we can share. So that's hopefully we can do that and get people connected.
You don't need to be an expert of everything about bees.
Absolutely. word a mentor is a person with, maybe 3 years experience. There's really no set time frame. I think we're just looking for somebody to help new beekeepers along. It's a lot to learn right when you get started, as you guys all know. So, any new beekeepers here tonight? There we go.
Yay, well, thanks for coming.
And I would say it's probably one of the most important things, if you talk to any of the experienced beekeepers in here, probably one of the best things to do is get a mentor. Even if you just spend a couple afternoons with somebody and you go to their apiary and you get to experience that first, or you need help, they come to your place, it's really one of the most important things to do is to get a mentor.
And I told my story before, and I'll say it again. The reason I'm even at this point is because I had a beehive in my backyard that I thought I killed, left over winter, and I connected with a guy on Facebook who was a beekeeper in Lebanon, and I said, I have no idea what I'm doing, will you help me? And he came, and he did help me, and fortunately the bees are still alive, but he's still my friend today, and that brought her into beekeeping, and there we go. So that's absolutely, it's a personal connection that can make a significant difference, so, in your beekeeping. And
So, at a break or after the meeting, come see me and I'll get your contact information and we can get you arranged.
Before we do that, I just want to say, the most hilarious comment I got from the state fair, if anybody else has any, these were hilarious. A man walked up to me and said, how many flowers do I have to plant to make sure the bees stay on my property? And I said, he was an Indian man and had his wife and daughter with him, and I said, about 2.5-mile radius in every direction. He goes, no, you do not understand. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, this is my house, and this is my yard, and this is all farmland. How many flowers do I have to plant? And I was like, 2.5-mile radius in every direction. So we went on and had a lengthy discussion and talked about it, but it was hilarious. But if you have anything hilarious, Ashley, you? My other favorite comment was the one day of the 2.5 weeks of the fair that we were there, this lady came walking across the counter. I hadn't even been there an hour, and said, I'm looking for 2 queen bees, honey. It was here last year. Where's the 2 queen bees, honey? I was like, oh my gosh, what are the odds that it would be today? I said, I didn't bring any. It was very embarrassing. So, okay, with that lead in, there you go. Jim Byrne, tell us what we did at the Hamilton County Fair.
We did a little over $1,700 in honey sale,
Wow.
which was phenomenal, way more than I expected.
But we'll all be getting sun scarring from
Yeah, it was wretchedly hot.
I think
for
I
any
lost
morning
my
out there.
Can we turn in our dermatology bills to them?
No, we'll chip in 50 cents for sunscreen a day.
We had canopies.
We raised for the 4-H beekeeping program $263.70. That buys five suits for the beekeeping program. So again, I thought if we came away from the fair with enough to buy 2 or 3 suits,
And we
that'd be
got
a huge win.
5.
Probably more than that.
And we mostly covered our expenses.
We did not realize till we could hear that there was an expense.
Yeah, otherwise it would have come out great. But we covered about 50% of our expenses.
And we had tons of volunteer hours. So it did cost $180 to have the booth.
Yep.
And everybody pays that. All the booths pay that. So we had to cover that. And of course, only 10% was going to the club. The rest went back to the beekeepers that brought honey. 15% went to the 4-Hers.
Yep.
And we can revisit that next year if we would like.
Yeah,
It was hard work.
But the money for us to actually be able to be out there came from things like the T-shirts and the raffles, and so we greatly appreciate your support. We don't want to charge dues for the club because
Not
it's
at
just
all.
not how we want to roll, but
And I think
if
every
you want our
person-
help, we appreciate it.
I think every person that worked met someone who said, I didn't know there was a bee club in Hamilton County, so we were really
We passed
glad.
out about 1 billion
Yeah,
business
we were
cards.
really glad to have that outreach. Oh, that
I
was.
think you covered mine.
Okay, well, go,
I'm sorry, that was a fair
It's
report.
okay.
Yeah.
And we got a booth out of it, right? So now we have a booth already kind of put together.
Yes, we know what we're doing and where we were and whether we want to change it.
And we have all the materials to reuse again next year.
Well, except maybe the lattice, but.
I'd like to add one comment too. If there's any from those who work at the fair or anybody who chose not to work at the fair and might have some feedback on your experience, please feel free to drop an email on the internet site. We'd love to hear feedback on your thoughts on the whole process. So feel free to give us feedback on your opinions.
If you saw a booth at the fair, that location was kind of foisted on us. I think we made the best of it. I think it turned out really well, actually, because we were right between the two Master Garden gardens. If you're familiar with that fairgrounds and you think there's a better place we could be, I'd love to know about that. There are no openings in the food court, so if you have any other ideas, let me know.
The air conditioned building.
Yeah, kick in there either. All right, so Candy Board Social, we are confirmed at the party barn that we had it at last year, October 15th. Kitchen lunch at 11, make candy boards outside on the porch. They told me that's Masonville.
Does everybody know what that is?
Does everybody know what Candy Board Social is? How many people came last year? Oh, not very many. Oh my gosh, okay. How many people put candy boards on their hives? How many people know what candy boards are? Okay.
How many don't know what candy boards are? That's a better question. Okay.
Okay. The candy board is a winter feeder that we make with a wooden frame about 2 inches deep. It has hardware cloth on the bottom. We pack it with granulated sugar mixed with a little bit of water and some honeybee healthy. You pack it in, it hardens, gets solid. We set it between the top box of your hive, whatever that top box is, and the inner cover. Then the cluster can work its way up and eat that throughout the winter. It also serves as a mitigator for moisture in the hive, which moisture can be super deadly in the winter. So that hard sugar can absorb moisture and release moisture both ways. So it's something that we feel is very important for any beehive going through an Indiana winter. So just to make it fun, we all got together last year and brought your supplies or bought supplies. Karen can have those available. You bring your sugar, we'll provide the water. We have the great big mortar mixers on drills that we can mix it up in buckets and pack it all in, and we have fish and lunch, so it's really fun.
Tracy, are we also bringing the Honeybee Healthy?
The what?
Are we also providing the Honeybee
I
Healthy?
think we did last year.
Yeah, last year we provided the meat, barbecue, pulled
No,
pork.
so I said the honey bee healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think last year we
Because one of
supplied
you
it.
knows how to make it. Yeah, we'll provide the honeybee healthy. Last year we provide pulled pork barbecue,
And
and
then
then
everybody
everybody brought a
mentioned-
side. I will say that the party barn, which we love and helped us get started with our club, does not charge us anything for that, but I would like to provide them with some kind of free will offering, a couple bucks a piece, put in a pot for them because it's a lovely heated space in the kitchen, and I'd like to bless them with something. So let's try to put together a little bit.
We'll send out an invite for that.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Where's the party barn? The party barn is on 191st Street. I don't know the exact number, but it's just west of the main entrance to Grand Park. So west of 31, just west of the main entrance to Grand Park. It's on the north side of 191st Street. It's a green farmhouse that says Pictor on the front, or on the barn. Pictor, yes.
And if you're on Facebook, we'll put the address on Facebook.
Absolutely. Yep.
We'll send out an invite for everyone.
Yeah, make sure we have your correct email addresses. so-
On the sign-in sheet. We do read those often.
And everybody, just to say it again, everybody signed in, right?
And the last thing I'll talk about is the fall conference up in Plymouth, Indiana. Swan Lake Resort. We are having it up there. I'm looking for, I just texted Debbie Seib to ask her about background information on our speaker so I could tell you about him. And so this is the first time the fall conference has ever been up north. Usually in the past it's been down in Clifton Falls, which is a lovely place. But we felt like the northern half of the state deserved to have a conference in their area, so we're having it up at Plymouth. Swan Lake Resort, it is a home Notre Dame football weekend. So if you plan to go and spend the night, which you don't have to do to attend the conference, most of the conference is all day on Saturday the 29th. The board meeting for Beekeepers of Indiana is on Friday at noon. So if you wanted to attend that, you could. And then Friday evening, the main speaker, I'm trying to get his
Dr. Guzman.
Dr. Guzman.
He and Dr. Hunt work together in Mexico. Dr. Hunt's worked kind of alongside of Dr. Guzman, different place along the way. He's professor at Guelph University in Canada.
Oh, right.
And he's gonna be great.
And on Friday night, like at 7, I think, he is putting on a presentation about Africanized bees. So if that interests you at all, that would be something you would attend Friday night. But you do the night to attend the Saturday conference. On Saturday, before we get to that, on Saturday there are 2 tracks. There's the beginner beekeeper school. It's the fall beekeeping school. It's all day for beginners, taught by one teacher the whole day. It's great. Karen and I went to it several years ago, got a lot out of it. He has great handouts. Then there's the conference going on at the same time. If you're not a beginner beekeeper, you would have the conference, which will have breakout sessions, the main speaker, etc. The cost includes lunch. So you can do either or.
Great.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Am I done? Am I done? And there we go. Ron Baston, Baston Penny Farm has his trailer out in the parking lot. And he'll be speaking next month on memorizing your hives and how they got their business going. Isn't because you planned to start a honeybee business, was it?
No.
That's what I like about that story. We're trying to get an in-out guy in October, or we're not sure. We're not sure. And Crispin's going to talk in November on Queen Room. Crispin Gibbon, why don't you tell about Crispin Gibbon? You know far more about him than I do.
He's Dr. Hunt's right-hand man. He's very much responsible along with Dr. Hunt for what they're doing in research at the bee lab. And so I think he's probably considered a technician, but he's really, really involved, and he's an inseminator. He inseminates queens, and he'll be great. He's a classical musician.
That is degrees in music, right? Yeah.
But his father had these.
Right.
He's probably my next word.
So really excited to have Crispin. He's probably the number 2 guy in the state of Indiana as far as bees go. December 21st, wow, that's our Christmas thing, and I don't know what we're doing, so if you have any great ideas for Christmas, talk to us. We do? Do you have ideas? Okay. There was something else that Okay.
So I don't know if everybody knows, but just outside of here and across the main road, there's a wooden entrance in the fence. There's an entrance in the wooden fence, and we have 2 beehives down the middle. And so tonight I'm so sweaty because I worked all day and we did hive inspections. And I think the hive has been here about 4 months now. It's between 3 and 4 months, and we always before the meetings I put it on Facebook, but we only had like 3 people out there tonight. And we were talking about the mentor program. This is the way I see being able to help people, because we just had a great time out at the hive. We started at 5 o'clock. Weather permitting, we always do that before the meeting, and I put it on Facebook. And we need to bring some gear, at least a veil. That's done a few times. But anyway, when we brought the hives here quickly, they were queenless, requeened themselves. We did powder sugar shake at that point 3 months ago, and I knew they had mites, and one had 18 mites and a half cup of bees, the other had 8. Took care of them as a treatment that I like to use, and while they were just becoming queen right again, last month we did a check on them. One had 2 and the other had 0 mites, and they were recovering, and they were clearly crashing. At least one of them for sure when they first came here. I brought them here to show that process of recovery. Tonight, they've made honey. One of them's got probably 30 pounds of honey, 25 pounds of honey in the box. The other one's about 15 pounds of honey. And it's the one that was in the worst shape, crawling bees, when we first did the hive inspection out front. And had the 18 mite count, 12 and a half cup of bees, which is just, shouldn't have 4 is too many. 18 is crazy. But they were broodless, so that's a little bit better for the formula. You can read about that on Randy Oliver's Scientific Beekeeping. Tonight, we only powder sugar shook 1, and it was the one that was weaker, and we still found 0 again. But what's happened now, what we experienced out there tonight, the weaker hives started to become raw, but I kind of expected that to happen a little bit, because we were in there for longer than we should be, but we were teaching and learning, and so we continued to go through and let it happen. And what we should have done, I mentioned at the end, was I should have taken the lid off the stronger hive right when we started, and then gone into the weaker hive first. And it wasn't, it's not weak, it's got tons of bees in it. We lost the queen. She went around the box, and I tried to get her, and she's either on the ground or maybe in the back, and we don't know, or dead. But we put that one back together, went through the other one, and it's busting with bees and doing good, and plenty of honey and good brood patterns. both are good beehives, and we're in the process of setting them up to remove the honey now. And the last thing we did was check the honey moisture content. That's very, very important this time of year. We checked capped frames in the middle of the honey super, and one was over 20%, and the other was at 19%, or just a fuzz under 19. And you really, really want your honey to be under 18% before you bottle it. 18 1/4 will be all right, but you should eat that honey pretty quick. That being said, just this time of year, you see your honey capped. There's no guarantee that it's ready to be harvested. So what I told everyone out there, what we're going to do is that honey's going to get pulled within the next week or so. I will put it in a hot room that I have that's small with a dehumidifier, and we'll allow the dehumidifier to run until the honey is ready to be harvested. The fan blowing in a small room. The dehumidifier will heat the room with its compressor and its fan motor, and it'll hopefully dry it down. That is risky if you see small hive beetles in your hive. We didn't see any small hive beetles. I don't think I saw them. But they are in full sun. That's part of this one. And they're in strong hives. If you have drone brood or any small hive beetles, when you bring your honey in, even if you don't get all the bees out of them, those beetles have laid some larvae that the bees will take care of and still in the hive. So you can't leave them at the dehumidifier room for more than 3 or 4 days. You got to keep an eye on it because the larva will start to grow and then it'll slide in the honey frames and it'll ruin your honey frames before you can harvest it. So that's the catch-22 this time of year. I'm pulling honey to treat hives. These two don't need treated as they are right now. At least we didn't sugar shake the other one, but because I didn't find the queen and I didn't want to end up killing two. In case we killed one. This is the reason we didn't do that. But,
So you killed her for sure?
oh no, we just don't know where she's at this point.
Will she go back in?
They'll get her
Like,
back.
does it always happen, or is it just a small chance that she would find her way back?
No, I think that if she was on the ground, she'll find her way back in. But the whole thing was so covered in bees, the box and the super, and
I just mean for
smoke
people
and-
who may drop their queen, do we
Yeah.
go, oh my gosh, it's over, or do we have
You need
hope
to go
that
back in
she
3
may-
days and look for it.
Okay.
And if you see queen cells,
Possibly.
so I really think I've got a lot of beehives. I've been keeping bees for a while, but I can't help people, and a lot of people contact me to try to help them, and it's hard for me to go to any anybody's beehives. I have most of my bees are on other people's property, so I have to get special permission to take people there. So here's where I can help the most. I think help the most people at one time. So that is always an option. Every meeting, weather permitting, you do that. I posted on Facebook. Hopefully people got to see it. It said 95 people saw it. The post that I posted on there yesterday. So bring your veil and come on out. And I'll post again before I get ready to pull the honey within the next week or 10 days. So and I'll let you know what time I'm going to be here. And I'll do it a couple days in advance. And, please come join us if you can, because that'll really help. Those are good beehives out there right now, and you'll learn a lot.
And if you are total newbies and you have no equipment and you really want to come, contact us. We'll get something. We have extras. They're not at this location though, so if you want to come and just put on a veil and say, is this for me? Am I really able to do this? I get that. Just let us know. We'll get extra equipment here. This is a perfect opportunity. No cost, no commitment. You can get in and see if it's something that interests you or something that you need to work up a little more courage, and that's totally okay. But this is a perfect opportunity for you to work with a great beekeeper and see how it's done.
Just respond to that message if you
Yep.
see it, and if you need a
Hey, I
veil.
wanna
we'll get
come,
it.
but I don't
I
have
had
a
a couple
veil.
in my truck, and then Ben came and he got one from who gave Ben the veil? Where you go? Anyway, so that's that. And then I just one quick thing. These right here are at Walmart, $4.23 for a pound, and this is the same thing you can get from Man Lake. The chemical in it is active ingredient is dichlorobenzene, and this is to protect your honey supers. So if you pull your honey supers off now, and then you get them extracted, one thing you can do is put them on top of your inner cover if it has a hole in it for a couple more months here. You just have a few. The bees will keep it clean, keep wax moths out of it. As long as it's a strong hive. It's a good hive. But what I do is I stack them up, maybe 10, 12 high, then I'll have an empty box on top of that. You don't even need an empty box, you just make a spacer. Take a little tray, you can make metal, plastic, anything, and then keep these moth crystals.
Not mothballs.
That is naphthalene is what is in that. You do not want those, and you don't want any lavender, any scents in this. Some of them have lavender, but this is dichlorobenzene. This one looks like ENOZ is the maker. You can also get this at the Bee Supply places. This is the same price as it is from Manley and South City. Just check the Walmart online before you go and see if they have it in stock. $4.23. Then they will dissolve, you know, deactivate, vaporize, whatever. Put them in the top, it drops, it's heavy, and then just keep them on it until, then I store my honey supers in a place that freezes. So the first freeze, then we will not have to worry about wax moths anymore, as long as we're going to put them back on hives in May or whatever next year. If you don't get them on a hive by July the next season, you need to start putting those back on.
So you don't need to put a plastic bag or anything over them, just that.
And then I put an inner cover on it. You could put
An inner cover, there you go.
Plywood.
Right, inner cover is fine.
I just put trash bag over the top.
And then you just have to keep replenishing those. Probably, you know, weekly, every 10 days, you need to check and make sure they stay on there because those wax moths will get you.
And wax moths are really, really fun. How many people have had exposure to wax moths? They are super, super fun. I especially like putting the frames in my freezer and watching the little larvae try to get out before I shut the freezer door. It's one of my favorite things. Okay.
Hey Matt, what section or what department of Walmart do they carry
The
that?
laundry, so you can kind of look where the clothes baskets are and then that little section.
Somebody needs to call Walmart, so they need to.
Yeah,
There's gonna
stock
be-
up
there's gonna
now.
be a
In fact, I'm gonna run out while Andy's talking and get it.
I bought 86 in Michigan Road out.
Oh,
They had
dang it.
6 on the shelf.
Okay, I'm going over there.
Matt, do you use the whole canister of,
Good
How many do you
question.
put on?
No, I probably put it in that my little lid container I have. I might put maybe an eighth of a cup at a time, something like that. Just
how much?
Eighth of a
eighth of a
cup
cup, half of a quarter.
for 12 supers, is that what she said? So eighth of a
Just
cup
let smells go
on a
and it's
plastic
dissolving.
lid.
So the smell settles to the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, the vapor just
the
drops.
smell goes down, so
Yeah.
on the top.
Very important though. But if you do get some honey supers full of wax moths, put them on a hive.
Put them in your freezer.
You'll be fine.
Yeah,
Put them in your
okay.
freezer.
Yeah.
Then put them on
Next
hot,
year.
put them on, yeah.
Fine.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's right. I saw you were doing something fun about singing. Great.
Hey everybody, how are we doing are you ready to advance this for me? All right, let's see how this works. Hi everybody, my name is Jim Burns. We were kicking around ideas of what to do for different speaker topics, and one of the things that I suggested was that we have some very good journals in the U.S. for beekeeping. There's two really common ones. One's the American Bee Journal, and the other is Bee Culture. The ABJ is a little bit more scholarly than Bee Culture. They're both excellent. I get them both. But there's a lot of information presented every month. And there's some very interesting topics, but I realize that not everybody subscribes to these journals, and not everybody necessarily wants to plow through some of the more involved articles. My background is biology. I really get off on this kind of thing. And I said, hey, maybe we could occasionally take some of the more interesting articles and turn them into a presentation just that we can give in a fairly short period of time so that some of this information that's in the ABJ will get out to more of the members. So who here subscribes to the ABJ? All right, so you'll all be bored. Sorry. How about Bee Culture? All right. Good. So this is nothing original on my part. This is straight up plagiarization. I have lifted the entire presentation out of the ABJ. So I need no credit for any of this, any knowledge I have on this topic. I've gleaned from reading this article and several others. So we're going to start tonight with the first one of these articles that we're going to do. Hopefully we're going to do more this year. It's from this year's.
Lights down, can everybody see it?
Yeah, can we bring the front lights down, Paul? I have been stung. Has anyone here never been stung by a bee? Do we have any absolute bee virgins? Okay, do you have a bee in your truck? Can we go?
We can take care of
All
that.
right. Who here has been stung more than 100 times? All right. More than 1,000. Okay. Haven't killed you yet, right? Okay. I'm sure we've all had the experience of going and talking to somebody that comes up that you're a beekeeper, and it used to be that one of the first things that people would say is, how often do you get stung? Right. Now it's, are the bees all going to die? Then, how often do you get stung? And what do you tell them when you say, do you ever get stung?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Getting stung as a beekeeper is no different than hitting your thumb with a hammer if you're a woodworker. If that's your hobby, I've personally gotten hurt a lot worse woodworking than I ever have beekeeping. So bee stings are a part of what we do as beekeepers. We're not going to get away from it. It's just a part of what we do. But I found it interesting to learn a little bit more about what's going on, and really studying the bee sting itself is a fascinating look. It seems like everything that you do with bees, when you start uncovering a layer of what's going on here, it just gets more and more fascinating. At least I think so. My kids tend to drop off to sleep when I'm telling them about this. But I found the bee stinger to be really, really interesting. So let's go on. Why does a honeybee have a sting in the first place? Well, it is really the bee's principal means of defense. They do have a secondary means of defense, which Matt is very familiar with because he helps breed queens that produce that trait. They also can use their jaws. Now, I've heard people say, how often do you get bit by bees? Yeah, well, I don't think I've ever been bit by a bee. Mice get bit by bees, but I don't get bit by bees. I get stung. So the stinger is their primary method of defense. But like a lot of things about bees, it's not about the individual, it's about the colony. A bee doesn't sting to defend herself, because in stinging, she dies, usually. So stinging is all about colony defense. A hive that's full is full of protein in the larva and in the pollen. It's full of carbohydrates in the form of honey. It's a very attractive thing to be attacked by birds and mammals. And so the bees have developed this form of defending the entire colony. It's a very altruistic thing because in defending her colony, the bee is giving up her own life. Next one. So this is one thing I learned in reading this article. Honeybees do not always lose their stinger every time they sting. They only lose their stinger when they sting tough-skinned victims. Now, we qualify as tough-skinned victims. But when you see honeybees fighting with a wasp or a yellow jacket in front of the hive, they can sting another insect repeatedly without losing their stinger. So that's considered soft-tissued insects. They are the only bee that loses its stinger when it stings us. So if somebody says, of course, I got stung by a honeybee, you say, well, did you see the stinger? Well, no, I didn't. Oh, well, then it was a wasp or a yellow jacket or something else. It certainly wasn't one of my bees if it was a honeybee. Queens have a stinger too. They don't typically lose their stinger though. And we'll talk a little bit more about the anatomy of the stinger, but the barbs on a honeybee stinger are much smaller on a queen. The queen also has a larger reservoir of venom in her body, so she can do multiple hits much more effectively. Anybody know why? Huh? Kill the other queens, that's right. If she's the first one to hatch, and there's a bunch of swarm cells in there, she's got a lot of work ahead of her. All right, next one. So, anybody ever had a dog do this? Get a mouthful of bees? Yeah. So the bee stinger is really a phenomenal evolutionary development because it's designed for maximum impact. Of all of the bees out there, the honeybee stinger is by far the most effective. And you'd think that, well, a wasp or a yellow jacket can sting you multiple times without dying. That's going to be more effective, but not so. A honeybee, because it loses its stinger, it leaves that stinger behind. And as you can see in this picture with the forceps, it's not just the stinger that's left behind. The poison sac and the muscles that are used to inject the venom are left behind with it, and they keep twitching. So even once the stinger is in your skin, the honeybee pulls away and dies, that stinger is still effectively pumping that venom into your body. Now when we get stung, we can just pluck that stinger out. It's not a big deal. But for this poor dog, or for a bear, or a raccoon, or one of my cats who got too close to the hives, they get stung, and they can't pull those stingers out. So they're left with those things pumping that venom into them, and it's very effective at driving away predators and nuisances. So let's talk about what the stinger actually is. This is one of the illustrations from the article. First of all, it originates as the ovipositor. If you know anything about entomology and insect biology, the ovipositor in an insect is that part of the female anatomy which is used to lay the eggs. So the honeybee has developed the ovipositor into the stinger. That's why only females can sting, because only females had an ovipositor. So it has several major parts. That little squiggly bit that you see at the top that comes down around the right-hand side, that's the venom gland. It's one of the two glands in the bee's body that actually secretes some of the chemicals, over 50 different chemicals that go into the bee's venom. The venom sac is where that venom collects. That starts about day 3 in the bee's life cycle and continues to collect in there up until about day 30 of the life cycle. And then that muscular bulb that you see down here, this whole device here is the muscular bulb that pumps the venom and also operates the stinger. And if you think about it, it's like 3 plates on either side of a little ball of muscle. And that muscle contracts and it works like a pump, kind of like a heart, and it pulses and it causes the stinger to operate, and it also causes the venom to flow out through the stinger. So very, very efficient. And all of this is left behind, of course, the stinger as well, in the animal's body. So looking a little closer now here, I like this slide especially. This is looking at the underside of the stinger. You can see that it's not just one piece. It's not like a needle that you'd get a shot with. It's actually 3 different pieces. The little lip that you see here on the bottom, okay, that's the stylet. It's solid, and it really gives the stinger its backbone, so that it has something they can really lean on and dig into you with. And then on top of the stylet are these 2 pieces here. They're called lancets, and you can see the barbs on them. And we'll look here in a minute at a little better how this works. But those lancets work a little bit like an electric bread knife with teeth that stick out, because they oscillate back and forth. And that's what that bulb pushing is doing, is it's operating those lancets. One pushes forward, the barbs catch, and when the muscles contract and pull the next one forward, it keeps pulling that stinger into the body. So the action of actually getting stung is several different operations happening all at once. The bee pushes down in one motion to get the whole thing started, but then these lancets take over, and it actually pulls itself deeper into your skin. Sorry, if anybody's new to beekeeping, don't freak out. It's still just a bee sting.
You really don't feel that sawing motion.
You really don't feel the sawing motion. I found this gift. This is really a very good illustration, because it shows one other neat feature, and that's this venom pump. At the top of the lancets, there are these 2 little cone-shaped things that look like upside-down umbrellas. And so as those lancets are pushing farther into the skin, those cups are pulling venom up and pushing it down through the stinger. The venom actually flows between the stylet and the 3 lancets through a little cavity that's between all 3 of those. So it's a very, very efficient system. This action is going on even after the honeybee is gone. So again, really, really effective delivery system. Next slide. So let's talk about the miracle that is bee venom. It's composed of over 50 organic molecules, 50 organic compounds. And we're not gonna, don't worry, we're not gonna talk about all of them. But we want to talk about a couple of the most significant ones, the ones that have the biggest effect. Molybdenum is a peptide, and it makes up the bulk of what bee venom is. It's a peptide, it's about 40 to 50%. It is a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. That's not, as we understand it, its main purpose, but I believe it is one of the main features, and if we have somebody come and talk about apitherapy, I think they'll probably discuss this compound. As a powerful anti-inflammatory, I believe it's used as part of apitherapy for the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis and some other things. But where it's really effective in the venom is that it helps to rupture the red blood cells in your capillaries. Phospholipase A2 is an enzyme. It's a much smaller part of the total venom. It causes cell walls to rupture, and this is where most of the pain comes from that you feel from a bee sting. That burning sharp pain is coming from that rupture of the cell walls. And it causes a specific type of cell in your skin to rupture, which are called mast cells. And mast cells are filled with histamines. So all of a sudden, your body is releasing histamines into the bloodstream. And histamines cause allergic reactions. Right. So you take an antihistamine to counter the effect of you take an antihistamine to counter the effect of histamines in your blood. And so the bee is causing histamines to be released, and it starts to cause a localized reaction in your skin. I never quite got this one down. It's anybody really good at organic chemistry? You know this one, Ann. What's the next chemical? No, this one.
What hyaluronidase?
Thank you. What'd you say?
Hyaluronidase? Hyaluronidase.
Hollandaise.
Thank you. Yes, that is correct. It's important. It's a really important part of the bee venom because it's what causes capillaries in your skin to dilate, to open up. Okay? So by opening up the capillaries, it allows the venom to spread more rapidly to allow the other compounds that cause the cells to burst apart, that cause red blood cells to break. This allows them to spread. It's also a very important component for those people who have true bee allergies. We'll talk about that in a second. Dopamine and noradrenaline are also in there, and they cause your pulse rate to increase. So your heart beats faster, your capillaries open up so blood can move more rapidly so that it can spread around the pain and destruction-causing toxins in the bee venom. So it's a very efficient cocktail at doing what it's supposed to do, which is hurt. Okay? Hurt a lot.
That last one helps you swear faster.
That's right. It increases your swearing capacity remarkably. Excellent. This is just one of the tables from that article, but I just wanted to throw it out there to show you that this is not even a complete list of all the compounds in bee venom, but it has been studied extensively. Some of these do have medicinal purposes. Bee venom is collected pharmacologically and dried. It's horribly expensive. As you can imagine, who wants to sit and milk a bee? So it takes a lot to make honey, but there is quite a bit involved in that. All right, so a stinger and the venom. If you go into a group of people or you start talking about bees, invariably, 1 out of 4 is going to say, I'm allergic. I'm allergic to bees. I'm allergic to bees. Okay. As beekeepers, we know that a true bee allergy is relatively rare. And I thought this was a really great statement because it talks about, this is Justin Schmidt, who's acknowledged as one of the best experts on bee venom and bee stings. He said that the important thing about a stinging allergy is that your body is reacting at some portion distant from where the sting actually happened. I get stung in my leg and my throat closes up. Okay? I get stung in the butt and I have trouble seeing. I get stung in the hand and I get nauseous or I go into shock. That's some reaction distant from the stinging location. Anything other than that is not an allergy. Anything other than that is just a normal reaction, a local reaction, or a large area reaction to a bee sting. So there's a number of different categories that we put reactions to stings in. The most common one is just a normal non-allergic reaction. And this varies a lot from person to person. We all have different pain thresholds. We all have different levels of experience. The first sting hurts more than the 4,427th. You just get used to it. But typically, you're going to feel a sharp pain. That pain may get a little bit worse over time. You're going to get a little redness, some swelling. If you're like me, probably day 2 or 3, it's going to itch like it blazes, and you end up scratching too much. And you may end up with something like a little red or brown dot at the sting site. The author here said his hands always looked like they had freckles because he got stung in his hands quite a bit. So that's a normal reaction that most people have to a bee sting. Next. Now, a large local reaction does happen to some people. As you might recognize from that photo, or maybe not, that's me. And I am subject to large local reactions. The leg is not me, the face is me though. And by the way, that was taken in my office. I went up to look at the hives on the roof of my building. I keep some bees downtown, and I got stung right on the tip of the nose. One sting. Anyway, they look horrible. Okay, a large local reaction is where you have a reaction in your body that spreads out away from the actual sting site. If I get stung in the leg, my whole leg swells up for a couple of days. Okay? If I get stung on the hand, my hand and wrist will swell up quite a bit. It's not dangerous. Okay? But you will get this large swelling, it will be painful, it will itch. It's about 20% of the people or so are affected this way. The biggest thing is it's disturbing to people. If you walk around with a big club foot, you know, I was out checking the hives, you want to be a beekeeper? You know, you know, this is not a good way to recruit people to beekeeping. But people get freaked out and frequently go to the doctor when they get a sting like this. Now, going to the doctor, always a good idea if you're concerned, don't get me wrong, okay? Don't ever not go to a doctor if you think you're having an issue. But for a large local reaction, there's usually not much a doctor can do. They might prescribe a steroid for you. First time it happened to me, that's what I did. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Yeah, here's a steroid, see you. But you do want to make sure, like getting stung in the face like that, and if you do swell that much, make sure your airway isn't constricted, make sure you're not having any other secondary problems. But in general, if you have large localized reactions, like I do, that's not an obstacle to keeping bees. It just means that I'm a little bit more careful than the average beekeeper. I tend to be more cautious. Next. There are a certain part of the population, studies vary, anywhere from about 0.4 to 4% of the population, depending on who you talk to, actually have a true life-threatening systemic reaction to bee stings. It almost never happens the first time a person is stung. Okay, it's almost always second, third, or subsequent reaction, period time. The body builds up a violent reaction to the histamines it's already been exposed to. And what happens with people who have this sort of systemic allergy is that chemical in the blood, in the venom that causes the dilation of the capillaries goes crazy. Okay? And people who have this type of reaction cannot control their blood pressure once they've been stung. So all of a sudden, their blood pressure drops, dizziness, nausea, some other reactions. The histamines go into overdrive. You get massive swelling system-wide, and some of the most delicate tissues, like throat, okay, start to close off. Okay, this is definitely a very serious deal. You need to get medical attention immediately if you ever see anybody have this kind of reaction. I'm not subject to it, no one in my family is subject to it, but I keep an EpiPen in each of my apiaries, just on the off chance that somebody would be with me who would have this kind of reaction. I'm not saying that's necessary, I'm just saying that's what I do. But it's definitely something to be aware of. There are people out there, and we want to make sure that we're not reckless about exposing people to bees. I mean, you ask them, are you allergic to bees? Do you know if you're allergic to bees? If they are, or if they don't know, you want to take some reasonable precautions. All right, so now that you've been stung, what do? First thing you do is get the damn stinger out, okay? Because that thing is still sitting there pumping venom into you, okay? Now, if you're like Matt, who is pretty much leather all the way through, you know, he just waits until he's got a dozen on before he starts scratching them off. But the rest of us want to get them out of there. The old conventional wisdom was it was very important that you scrape the stinger off. Anybody heard that? Don't pluck it off, scrape it off. Yeah? Okay. They've done some actually controlled research on this issue, and they have found out that it is much more important to get it out quickly than it is to get it out carefully. So if you get stung and you can go pluck, pull faster than you can grab something to scrape it, or you don't have your hive tool handy or something, pluck and pull. You're not going to inject that much venom, and you're going to get more venom into you waiting to find something to scrape with than you are if you just plucked it out. So fast is more important than careful as far as you get it out. And I say, you notice too, at the top of this, it says this is what to do if you're stung as a beekeeper. For non-beekeepers, get out of there. This is assuming you're going to stand around and keep doing what you're doing. Okay, if you're not a beekeeper, get the heck out of there. Pull your shirt up over your head to minimize stings to the face and run. Okay, get in the truck, hide in the truck, right, Karen?
Yeah.
If your hive turns ugly on you,
Yeah, absolutely.
run for the truck. But if you work in the hive, take some smoke from your smoker, smoke the sting spot. When bees sting, they not only release the stinger and the venom into your body, but they also release an alarm pheromone that tells every other bee, sting here, sting here, sting here. If you've done this for a while, you'll know that if you get stung, you're much more likely to get a few more stings in the same place because they're all coming into that spot. Smoke it, that helps confuse the pheromone, helps drive them away a little bit. Put some ice on it to slow down the swelling. That also helps constrict the capillaries a bit, slows down the spread of the venom, that sort of thing. Oral antihistamines can help, Benadryl, that sort of thing. Topical cream for the pain is helpful if it hurts. Topical treatments of other types are not very effective because the irritation is not on your skin. It's in your capillaries, in your blood. Yes?
Also, what you want to do is you want to take Pepsid. Keep Pepsid and Benadryl. Pepsid takes care of the very first one you showed up there, which is the A1. And then Benadryl takes care of A2.
Okay, there you go. Pepsid works as well. There are a number of folk remedies that are popular. A lot of people say take plantain leaf. If you know what plantain looks like, a little leaf, little round-shaped leaf that grows close to the ground. Chew that up, put it on the sting. Some people claim that helps. But really, the best thing you can do is get it out of there quickly. Put ice on it if it's polished. And again, seek medical attention if you're worried about any type of reaction you have. If you ever get stung in the eye, and I mean like not near the eye, but I mean literally in the eye, get medical attention immediately. Okay? It is one of the few places that you can get stung on the human body that is actually very, very dangerous. Okay? It's one of the reasons why most experienced beekeepers will tell you you can do whatever you want with PPE, but always wear a veil. Okay? It's because the eyes are not to get stung. All right, so how do we keep from getting stung? Well, easiest way is to wear your personal protective equipment, your PPE. I'm a geologist by trade. I work in the environmental field. We wear a lot of personal protective equipment in what we do. So for me, wearing PPE for my hobby is no different than wearing my hard hat, my boots, and my chemical suit at work. Veil, always, always, always. Don't keep bees without a veil. Can't stress that enough. It's like operating your table saw without safety glasses. Okay? You've got to wear a veil. Other types of PPE are optional. A suit, gloves, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay? Now, just a quick survey here. Who wears gloves when they keep bees? Okay. Don't get tricked into the idea that it is not macho or you're not a great beekeeper or any of that if you wear a PPE. Okay? I wear a full suit and gloves. Okay? It's because I react poorly to getting stung by bees. Okay? Now, I still get stung periodically. That's fine. I'm willing to put up with that. But for me, the difference between 1 sting and 5 stings is a big deal. Okay? Because I got a lot less to deal with. Okay? Don't let anybody shame you. Don't look at people who are walking around in their shorts and flip-flops, you know, with a Kleenex draped over their eyes, you know, say, you know, look at what a great beekeeper I am. I'm one with my bees. You know, we're all happy here together. We're all, you know. Don't do it, okay?
Tracy and I figure we have nothing to prove to anybody.
Exactly. We are in this to have fun. This isn't a punishment, okay? We're in this to have a good time, okay? And I have a better time not getting stung. If I had to work 350 hives, I probably would handle it differently, but I don't, okay? So wear your PPE. Use your smoker. Use your smoker, use your smoker, okay? It calms the bees down. It disperses the alarm pheromone. Okay? It's a good idea. There's nothing wrong with using a smoker. That's my opinion. Some people will tell you, whatever. Use your smoker. Okay? If nothing else, when you get stung, you can smoke the spot where you get stung. Don't wear a lot of heavy perfume. Don't wear a lot of real foo-foo deodorant. Don't eat bananas out by your hive. Anybody know why? Yes?
The banana has a similar pheromone to the bee sting pheromone.
Exactly. Right, right. The main chemical in banana that causes this banana smell is very similar to the alarm pheromone that says sting here. So walking around with banana on your mouth in a cloud of bees is going to generate some attention. I thought it was a joke, and I actually tried it, and it does matter. Okay? And equally important, okay, have your head right when you go out and work bees. Okay? Don't be thinking about, oh, I gotta go home and pay the bills, and my kids are going here and I'm doing that, and slamming the bees around and dicking around in there, I gotta get done quick. Worst experience I had in a beehive was when I was trying to quick do an inspection on 2 hives. I had 5 minutes, I was trying to do it fast, and they lit me up because I was behaving poorly. Next one. No, that's it. Any questions? I will answer what I can, what I've cribbed from the article, otherwise you're on your own.
Yeah. One thing I've been told as far as the bee sting, so like you mentioned, sometimes people have been stung lots of times, suddenly go anaphylactic. And so what I've been told is that you always want to watch for hives breaking out. That is a good indication that possibly the next time you get stung, it can be profitable.
Yep.
So, hives are a really good indication, and pain really far away, and burning really far away from the sting side. Those are the two things that kind of put the back of your head, pay attention to before you go back on again. And definitely, they've been in drill, something like that. Great guy.
My father was 50 years old when he developed a bee sting allergy. Had been stung many, many times. He wasn't a beekeeper, he was just like that.
And it's curable. You can then go to the doctor, start to get on therapy, and they'll give you an antivenom in a small amount, and then you can build back up. Most people can't if they want to go through it. It could take 2, 3, or 4 years.
Yes.
So, that being said, the last time I did get stung, I wasn't even at my hive, I was in my garden. And they got stung in the face once, and I swelled up. And I just reacted different than I usually do. And I got hives. And I didn't feel dizzy or breathless or anything else, whatever. So we went to the doc, they shot me up with stuff and all that. And long story short, I just went to the allergist last week. They did all the scratch tests and everything else, and yeah, I'm allergic to like all the flying insects possible. So the protocol is I get 2 shots a week for 4 weeks, and then 1 shot every week for 6 weeks, and then it's on a maintenance basis, like once a month.
Excellent.
And after that, I'm supposed to be like 98% okay.
I'm just curious, did your insurance cover that?
Yes.
Yeah,
They did.
yeah,
That's really good to hear.
yeah. So all in all, I mean, really, when it's all said and done, I probably spent $300 to get it all taken care of.
That's excellent.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but the epinephrine, even with insurance, is $600, so
Yeah.
they're not cheap.
I would say, Karen and I keep beehives on the property of a lady who's an emergency room physician down at Methodist. She's from Canada. Her parents live in Canada, and the EpiPens in Canada are significantly cheaper.
Well, usually I'm $35.
Right, so if you have any connections in Canada, you might look at that. And then we've had multiple people tell us that there is a coupon for online
Yeah.
for $10.
That's how I got mine.
The EpiPen company actually has on their website a free copay. So if you have insurance, you can get the coupon from their website, take that with you to the pharmacy, and your copay is free.
The coupon only covered $100. They
I-
changed, somebody told me the patent ran out, or
Oh, was that-
the
was that
protection
recent?
ran out, that's why the price went up.
Okay.
And so
This-
nobody,
this was last year.
For it, right, and nobody now, there are no generics of EpiPen.
Okay.
And so they jacked the price out the roof. So like little kids and stuff who really have like peanut allergies, they're the ones that are really getting hurt by that.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other questions?
For $650, you
I
can
digress.
get 2 flights to King Cruise and you buy it over.
That sounds like a better deal. Thank you, Jim Burns.
Thank you.